Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona here with Mike Beer coming at you from a currently rainy Pimlico, but we're going to hope that rain clears out by Saturday for the 150th Preakness, which is of course the DRF Saturday race of the day. And speaking of the Preakness, you want to get your handicapping plan set for you to do your Preakness handicapping. It's a card that's stacked with stakes races, a really interesting set of races on Preakness Saturday, so get those PPs at shop.drf.com. And while you're at it, pick up the betting strategies for the Preakness card. I'll be writing those with our Mid-Atlantic correspondent Patrick Moquin. We'll be giving picks and analysis plus bets for all of these races on Saturday, so check that out at shop.drf.com. Well, Mike, we've got 9 horses entered for this Preakness. That does not include the Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty. Those connections decided they were going to skip this race, wait for the Belmont, but we do have the Kentucky Derby runner-up Journalism, and he figures to be a heavy favorite.
Yeah, too bad we don't have Sovereignty showing up here. Again, it'd be a nice rematch between those two because they both ran so well in Kentucky. We got Journalism. We have 2 other Derby also rans in the field as well. And then we got some new shooters who are pretty interesting. If not on Saturday, then maybe down the line.
And the new shooters have had a lot of success in recent years in the Preakness. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, Mike. And I found this one to be a little difficult to read. There's no flag showing up indicating it's going to be a particularly fast or slow pace. And it feels like jockey intention is going to be the key factor with these horses, especially when it comes to some of the lightly raced runners like the number 1 Goal Oriented or the number 8 Clever Again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, particularly between those 2 horses, what happens here. My opinion is the 1 Goal Oriented is definitely going to go from the rail here. Flavian Prat got very aggressive with him when he won that allowance race on the Derby undercard, and I think from the rail they'll probably come out running here. Clever Again. Make no mistake about it, that horse has a lot of speed, but it's kind of natural speed, David. They've never really asked him to go. I'd be surprised if they sent him in this race.
And Journalism is shown pretty far back on this pace projector, but I think he showed in the Derby. Yeah. He's not a horse who needs a trip to run his best race, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Do note that this is a race of the day, so you can get free past performances for this Preakness. Just set up your free account at drf.com and access the race of the day page to get free classic formulators or Timeform US PPs to handicap along with Mike and me. Mike, let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with that Bob Baffert trainee, the number 1 Goal Oriented. And in some ways, he's the horse with the most to prove coming in here because he's only made 2 starts in his career, but boy, he has shown a lot of talent in each of those races. That sprint win on debut at Santa Anita, where he got a 91 buyer. And looking back at the also-rans from that race, that's a number that could have even been higher when you take stock of it. In retrospect, they came back in an allowance race on the Kentucky Derby undercard, and he only repeated that 91 buyer, so no step forward there. But I still thought he showed some likable attributes, changing his running style, turning away a challenge. This horse has real upside.
The figure doesn't suggest that he improved last time in the allowance win. I think he improved a lot in that race. That was a really good performance. His debut, he's the rare Baffert horse that you will see as a first-time starter who was actually really green in that race. He reacted very poorly to kickback, but once his rider took him to the outside to get clear, this horse really ran in there. You could tell he was good. I thought he ran great last time, David. I know it's only a 91. They forced him to go fast in that race. It was fast early. It was a little slower late, but he was holding on so gamely through the stretch. This horse can run.
It just never looked like he was losing, and he just is a horse that really exudes class in his races. They're asking a lot of him to come back in 2 weeks and try a Triple Crown event, but he might have the talent to pull it off. The number 2 is Journalism, who is going to be the clear favorite in this race, Mike, and there's just not a whole lot to knock. Yes, he got run down by Sovereignty in the late stages of the Kentucky Derby, but Mike, I don't know how you feel, but when I watched that replay, I kind of felt like if you reversed the trips of Sovereignty and Journalism, and maybe if Journalism was the one following Sovereignty into the race, maybe he would have wound up in the winner's circle. Not to say that he had some big excuse, just that he ran really well. He got a little jostled early, overcame all of that chatter about him not handling a larger field. It didn't come to fruition. He's just way the horse to beat in this Preakness.
I agree. I can get behind the reversal of trips there, maybe making a difference. That being said, he ran his race in the Derby, and he ran really, really well. And I think that's the key point that you made there, I think is really important, that it's not like, the trip worked out for him, but it's not like he had a perfect trip in that race. He had to overcome some adversity, a little bit of traffic early in that race. He just sort of bulled his way through it, got the position that he wanted. He won't have that problem in here. He's going to take tons of beating in here.
Mike, what of the record of these horses coming out of the Derby in recent years? Because all through history, horses coming back in the Preakness off the 2-week turnaround from the Kentucky Derby, they did really well. But Mage lost, Mystic Dan lost, Epicenter lost, looking similarly dominant to Journalism. Is that a concern?
I mean, I guess you always have to worry how they'll react to coming back on 2 weeks rest, and it's your call if you're just don't want to take a short price on Journalism when that happened. I'm sort of I don't worry about it as much with this horse, David, not only because he kind of stands out in here, but also because the connections seem like they really took their time. They didn't just say, all right, we ran well here, we're going. They let this horse train for about a week. They watched him. They liked what they saw. They're running.
Another horse coming back in 2 weeks from the Kentucky Derby is the number 3 American Promise. No surprise when Lucas decides to take another shot at a Triple Crown event. He loves participating in these races. Mike, this horse did have some excuses for the Derby performance because he got jostled around at the start. We kind of expected that. He's not always the fastest horse out of the starting gate. And then Nick Juarez tried to make that middle move between horses on the backstretch that really backfired on him. So I understand expecting a slightly better performance here, but he still might be a horse that just needs the trip to work out, and I'm not sure that it really will.
Yeah, I agree with you. I sort of feel like, too, we were talking about that pace, earlier, where it feels like the one's probably going. The other horses towards the outside seem a little handier to me. Yep. I think this horse is going to go in here. I think they want to be part of the pace. That's where he's got 2 races that give him at least an outsider's chance in this race, David. And they both came when they put him right up close to the pace. I'm expecting that kind of a trip.
The number 4, Heart of Honor, is not a horse that was shown on that pace projector, but I think we expect him to be a little bit further back in the pack early, though they did put the blinkers on last time in the UAE Derby, and it got him a little more engaged in the early stages of that race, Mike, and when I saw him slice between horses and kind of get his head in front at the quarter pole, I thought he was going to go on and win that race, given the way that we've seen him finish his prior starts. He kind of hung a little bit in the late stages. I think the best thing you can say about this horse is that he's consistent and he's really tenacious.
Right, and he's probably fine with the distance, too, I guess, if you're worried about that kind of stuff. I don't know, David. His last 2 races to me are good, but they weren't good enough that I wanted to bet him in this race.
And the horse who beat him last time, Admire Daytona, completely bombed in the Kentucky Derby. The number 5, Pay Billy, he is the local hope from Maryland. He's won 4 of his last 5 starts, including the local prep for this race, the Federico Tessio. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race, Mike. And I thought this was actually a decent Tessio field, and he beat them on the square. He got challenged at the top of the stretch, responded, finished off the race well. It seems like he is a horse that's improving with added distance. This is just a big step up in class.
Just a really likable horse. I mean, he's a nose away from having 5 in a row on the way into this. 3 straight stakes wins it would be if he hadn't, just got nipped there in that Miracle Wood. He's in good form right now. The local horse, you expect him to sort of step up and take a shot here. He's going to have to get a lot faster.
The number 6, River Thames, had the points to get into the Kentucky Derby, but the connections decided they were going to willingly skip that race and wait for the Preakness, thinking that maybe the 1.25 mile distance of the Derby wasn't ideally suited to River Thames. And it might work out, Mike, because Chad Brown has done that with a lot of success recently with horses like Cloud Computing, Early Voting. Todd Pletcher now trying to copy that method with River Thames, and he ran pretty well in the Bluegrass last time. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race, and you could argue that the form of the preps that he contested the last couple of times was flattered in the Derby because he was right there with Sovereignty 2 back in the Fountain of Youth. And last time he was beaten a short margin by Burnham Square. And there's an argument that horse should have been way closer to Sovereignty at the end of the Derby.
It's very true. I mean, there's nothing to knock about this horse on paper. All of his races are good. I guess if I was going to take a negative position, there's probably no reason to take a negative position. I don't think he's going to take a ton of money in here. I would just say, as well as he ran in the Fountain of Youth, as well as he ran in the Bluegrass, he had every chance to win both of those races, and he wasn't good enough.
The number 7, Sandman, was the underlay of the Kentucky Derby field. He went off at 5-1, and kind of hard to see that based on conventional handicapping, but he does have a lot of X factor around him, and maybe that'll come to play again in the Preakness because he's a horse that attracted so much money. You've got to be concerned that he's an underlay once again, despite the fact that he finished 7th without a big excuse in the Derby. Yes, he was a little wide on the turns, but he's a closer, so he is supposed to be able to overcome a trip where he's looping the field on the outside, and he could just never go with the other late runners in that race. He's got to run a lot better here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, maybe there is something worthwhile about TikTok, though. If horses like Sandman are going to go off at 5-1 in the Derby, I'm loving it. Yeah, no excuse. Unless you want to say it was his first time on a sloppy track, Dave, and he just didn't really fire over it. But, man, he had the setup that he wanted in there. He just could not kick on with some better horses last time. He's got a chance to rebound in here for sure. We'll see what kind of price he is.
Yeah, Mark Cassidy was saying they put glue-on shoes on for the Derby, going back to regular shoes for the Preakness. We'll see if that's a positive for Sandman. The number 8, Clever Again, is one of the more intriguing new shooters heading into this Preakness because, Mike, he's the one horse that earned a Beyer speed figure last time that at least puts him within range of journalism, getting that 101 Beyer for the Hot Springs. We'll take a look at the stretch of that race from Oaklawn, and I'm a little suspect of the field he was beating because I don't think gaming has ever really gone on since his 2-year-old season, but Clever Again really does win this race comfortably, and if you're worried about the added distance, you look at the pedigree, especially on the bottom side, and it kind of puts those doubts to rest.
Yeah, I mean, he's just bred to go on. on from these last two races. So I think the least of your concerns would be the distance with this horse. It's just a question of what kind of trip is he going to get this time, because he's not getting loose on the lead in here. And then it's just, I guess, also whether he classes up with some better horses. He looks like he has a ton of talent. I understand that gaming, maybe just isn't that good, but this horse just absolutely dominated him in that race last time, and he was toying with the maidens 2 starts back.
He's just gotten so comfortable up front in those last couple of victories, and it's a little hard to see that happening in a race like the Preakness. The number 9 is Gosker, another new shooter in this race, coming off a couple of victories, including the Grade 3 Lexington. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race last time out, and not the strongest Lexington field, Mike, but this horse did do what was required of him, and he stepped forward with each and every start. He adapted to rating behind horses last time, finished when he got into the clear in the stretch, and watching him run, he does feel like one where at a distance is really going to work for him.
Yeah, all of his races are good, and I have no knocks on his Lexington. He got a perfect trip in that race, but he ran and he won it comfortably. He's another horse who he's got a lot of upside as of now. He's not fast enough to beat these horses. He better improve a lot.
Well, Mike, before we get to our picks for this race, I want to remind everybody out there, hit the like button on this video and also subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We got a lot of content planned for Preakness Week. You don't want to miss any of it. And also, leave us a comment with your Preakness pick. We would love to hear from you. Speaking of Preakness picks, Mike, where'd you go?
I'm not going against journalism, David. They're going to run him here. I just think he's better than these horses. And just with what's showing up here, I just kind of feel like he's almost supposed to win. I'm very interested in goal-oriented. I know you are too.
Yeah, I thought about putting journalism on top. He's the kind of horse that I feel like everyone is kind of expect to get the job done in this Preakness. He's going to be a very short price in this race, though maybe not as short a price as he should be based on the way this race has been bet in recent years. But I do think that the number 1 goal-oriented is the horse with the most upside coming into this Preakness. And I worry a little about the 2-week turnaround, but I think he might have the talent to overcome it. So I'm going with goal-oriented. Mike is going with the number 2, journalism. Let us know who you're going with in the 150th Preakness. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.